Alrighty then. Now, welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Online Prosperity Show. And if you've ever maybe woken up with a stiff neck, or you've probably battled back pain, or all of those pains that never seem to go away, and you've been told, maybe you're just getting older, or it means, you've just lived a life with a lot of discomfort in it, then I think today's episode is for you. And as you would know, this is the number one place to discover the people, the ideas, the methods, and the solutions that are helping everyday Australians to live healthier, happier, and more fulfilling lives. I'm your host, Prosper Taruvinga, and make sure you are subscribed on whatever channel that you are watching this on or listening, because today's conversation could completely change the way you think about pain, recovery, and what your body is truly capable of. And trust me, I know you're going to want to share this episode with somebody who's constantly saying, my back is killing me, or I can't come to that dinner tonight because I was putting on my socks and all of a sudden I couldn't get up from that predicament. So like I said,
You sound like that.
sure.
You sound like you speak from experience there, Prosper. Sounds like that's something that's happened to you. Happened to all of us, hasn't it?
Dr. Marti, I have stories. I can't wait to jump in and let you know
Yeah.
all about them.
All right.
Fantastic.
Well,
Now
thank you for
today,
having me, Prosper.
absolutely. Welcome to the show. And I just wanted to say thank you so much. I mean, obviously we've been in connection, and I can't wait to hear your journey, because you spent more than 25 years helping people move better, feel better, and just getting back to the things that they love. Tell us a little bit about your journey and how you came into this practice.
Okay, so that's a good question. Thank you so much for having me here. Like many people, if you didn't know, I'm a chiropractor. So for people who have pain, that's one of the choices that they can choose to see someone like myself. So I injured myself back when I was a teenager. I got run over by a car, and it wasn't a very pleasant experience, I can tell you that. But you remember the days when you used to get fish and chips from your favorite fish and chip shop? And I was crossing the road, and there'd been a storm previously, and the lights were playing up. And this is going back in the early the 70s. I'm a 60s child. So I'm crossing the road, and what I thought was a safe place to be at the safe time, holding onto my chips, ready to get into those, stepped out of the way of a car and into the path of another car, and got collected, went over the top of that car. And that gave me an instant curvature in my spine, which was painful. You may know that as a scoliosis. That's a curvature in the spine. And that was the beginning of having a wake-up call on the fact that your body can make some amazing changes. Often we discover these things when we experience some kind of pain, Prosper. And that was the beginning of when I first started to feel pain. Then a little bit shorter time after that, I ran into a seesaw, and it pushed my head up. And again, I got pain. So I was in my teenage years, and I'm going through some rapid growth, and I started to hurt myself. And I got taken to a chiropractor. And that chiropractor examined me and looked at me and said, "Look, I think I can help you." And a few gentle manipulations, and I felt so much better. And I thought, oh, that was very interesting. And something happened in the back of my mind, and I put that away for a rainy day. I got better, went through and played sport like lots of teenage boys did. Basketball was my thing back in the day, Prosper. And when I was in my 20s, I kind of revisited that thought of how amazing the body is when you give it the right tools, how it can recover. And so I started this journey of trying to understand how the body worked. So learning about the anatomy of the body, learning about how it moved. And I developed a real interest in doing massage and massage therapy. And I taught myself for a few years how to do that. And then I came across in my later 20s a particular chiropractor, and I'll mention his name, Dr. Mark Philip Deal. And he turned me on to the power of chiropractic and how the human body can heal itself if you give it the right opportunity to do so by removing the stresses that we put our bodies through each day. And this man changed my life. Because he was a very knowledgeable person, much like myself. I had this thirst for knowledge, and I still do, 25 years of helping people. I'm always looking for the thing that can really help the people that I get an opportunity to be able to help. Just tonight, Prosper, I gave this adjustment, and an adjustment is a chiropractic manipulation to a doctor who's on maternity leave, never had any chiropractic in her life. And she's having some troubles with the wrist. Carrying a baby, for example, is the reason for that. And we won't mention any names, but I have so many stories about so many people. But we gave her first adjustment tonight, and you should have seen the change in her body after she's been nursing a child and carrying around a heavy child to be able to sit up straight and have no pain in her back and to have that big smile come over her face because her body started to move properly and feel correct. And it was just the light bulb goes on when we find something that works and something that we resonate with, When you got into doing podcasts, there must have been that aha moment. But this happened to me back in the early days, and it started a journey of discovery and wanting to know how I can help people. And I became a chiropractor. So
Absolutely.
that's how it all kind of started.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for sharing that story, especially the one that starts us off with that accident. I mean, when you're carrying your fish and chips and things of that nature, the only thing you're worried about is seagulls. I don't know if it is
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
looking you're not looking
No,
around.
no, just walking across the road and the lights have been playing up and I'm sure it said green. And the cars, their lights said green. And cars and people don't mix very well. So,
Mm,
but I was only like 13 years old, and I'm not a big man like I was now. But I was really lucky, lucky not to be killed, lucky, God was on my side for sure.
yeah,
He was with me. So,
absolutely.
and I thank him for today because I get a chance to work, with this unbelievable power that guides my hands on how I can help people as well. You're intuitive. When you know when someone's intuitive and they know what to do. We talked about basketball. You watch a good game of basketball and you see the players, they intuitively know where to be at the right time in order to make that goal.
That pass, yeah.
And it's like silk. So when you're in the zone and you're with the patient and you're focused on them, there's nothing better than seeing the change in their bodies and the switch that kind of gets turned on, or that happiness that comes over us when we feel like all that stress goes away. And that's what I've always been able to provide to people. And then every day I'm more passionate than the day before because I really love what I do. My body starting to break down a bit, so I had to figure out ways of doing things more cleverly. And that brings us on to bringing in technology and embracing technology. And then that led to, what we might be talking about a little bit later on.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for that. Now, this 13-year-old boy, I mean, obviously,
Mm.
if it wasn't the fish and chips that would have maybe got him to come to this world, what would he have been? What was the aspiration at that time?
Don't really remember. I
Mm,
was at the time I was in Boy Scouts. Not a really common thing these days, but my father, before he passed, he was a scout leader. And back in those days, the 70s and that scouts were a real thing. We still have them around. They're a great institution for you learning and teaching young boys how to be young men and learning life skills. So that's been replaced by things that are more current these days. Cadets. I'm from Mackay, so we have quite a lot of Army, Air Force, and Navy cadets up here. I think that's more popular these days. I mean, you'd rather shoot a gun than pitch a tent, wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
Oh,
Now, if that would have been the case, I mean, maybe because obviously scouts, you're out there, you're learning to connect with nature. Be prepared is the motto of being a scout, and that you went on and did your chiropractic, and maybe that now started to make sense in your world. But most people don't just wake up and say, I want to spend the rest of my life studying spine.
no.
What was
No, no,
what
no. Well, when I finished high school, I went on to become a high school teacher.
right?
So I was a teacher in, and this is in New South Wales. Yeah, I live in Queensland. So for your listeners, it's another state. So it's a
Mm,
long way away. I actually moved to Queensland in order to continue education, but that was to lecture chiropractic students. So at the time, I went into education. I went into high school teaching. And I love that. And that really sparked another interest in me and a passion for teaching and education. And I was really happy with that, but I always wanted more. So that massage skill that was developing started to take over. I started to learn more about the human body and understand that there was more. And that moved into becoming a business. We started with my now wife many, many years ago, a corporate massage business. And you might remember those days where massage therapists would go into buildings and
true.
provide at lunchtime massages for the staff. The idea of that was it was all about employee well-being, and that was just starting to take off. So with that idea, we created a different company that came from that, which was more to do with the people that we were meeting along the way. There were some eclectic kind of people that we kind of met through this. We started doing massages at concerts, in nightclubs. We provided services where we knew people who were massage therapists, and we started to move in those circles. And we set up a business called Innovative Moves. Sounds like a catchy name. Doesn't really sound like anything massagey, but it was great. And along the way, we met some really crazy characters, and those characters started working for us. So we developed a corporate entertainment business. This corporate entertainment business and massage business gave us the idea that, chiropractic would be something that we would want to kind of do more of because it provided the funding to go to university and to do chiropractic. So I left the education aside and then moved towards learning to be a chiropractor. So, and that takes 5 years. And when I was at university, at Macquarie University, I went through all of that and learnt the qualifications of being a chiropractor. Because people don't necessarily understand that it's a 5 year full-time university degree, costs a lot of money, close to $100,000 or more, and it's hard work. There's a lot of things to know. People just think we crack backs and make people feel good. If you wanted to boil it down, maybe that's what they perceive, but you have to identify disease processes. You have to find out when it's safe to adjust. You have to know how to read images. You have to know how to understand pathology and anatomy and physiology and chemistry and all these kind of sciences. And that's the skills that any chiropractor would know now, because that's the standard that we hold people to. So, as you can see, it involved a lot of education, and that really spun my wheels, and I love that. So I was really turned on to learning more. And so Mark started me off on this pathway. I started working with him, providing massage, and then that developed on to helping with courses. And that developed into the innovative moves. That then became the university journey. And then 5 years after that, I come out a fresh chiropractor, a little bit older than most of the others that go into it. And my first job was in North Sydney, working for a gentleman in the high-rise buildings and so on. Then moved over to Bondi, near the beach, where people didn't wear very much clothing at all. And I thought, this is pretty cool. I could do this. But, these people are they're Brazilian holiday makers and travelers and backpackers. They don't stick around, They're just there for a short good time and off they go. But
Mm,
chiropractic's for everyone, because we have we all want to be able to age gracefully, use our body as we intended it to be, enjoy the times when we have with our families and not be suffering from pain. The thing
mm,
that underpins all this is people in their relationships with pain. They either want to get rid of it or they want to prevent it from happening. They run away from the things that they don't want and they run towards the things that they do want. So,
mm.
yeah.
Cool. Now, after this 5 years of you learning chiropractic and things of that nature, what was the moment that actually made you feel like you hadn't wasted your time?
Like the patient tonight.
Mm,
Just seeing how you can make this change.
right.
If you've had a massage, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Have you had a massage? Yeah.
yeah.
And it's an enjoyable experience and it takes an hour, half an hour, an hour. It's a lot of work for the therapist. And they do a great job. But then to see how a health professional like a chiropractor could examine someone and then provide an adjustment that takes a moment in time and get such an incredible payoff for that in the change that happens in that person's life, that was the real deciding factor. It was like the effect was incredible. So to see people be able to move correctly, headaches to go away, back pain to be resolved, people just the results. I think a lot of people these days want instant results. They don't necessarily want to put the effort in. They're always after the 5 minute abs, 7 minute abs, but everyone would love that. But that takes work.
Mm.
So when you see things that work and work well and work efficiently, then that's an interest to me.
Mm, I like that
So
because it does take 21 years to be 21 years old, but people just want to be that instantly. Now, I'm really fascinated about the doctor that you met today. I mean,
yeah,
obviously, in her world, in her own context, if somebody came to her with that, she would have prescribed something that some chemical was going to give some after effects
yeah.
and
Because
things.
that's a different school, the different the way they've learnt. They're identifying disease processes and they're going to mitigate that disease with the appropriate treatment. And the treatment might be a medication or it might be a therapy. This person has a tendinopathy, and a tendinopathy is an irritation of the tendon, particularly in the wrist. And by carrying a heavy child, that's a heavy child, and just the weight of that on her wrist for long periods of time irritated her system. Her nerve system became in a defensive state, and that defensive state produced pain. So for her, it was something that she sought a solution to, and she has this problem that will require some therapy, requires some massage. It requires some manipulation. It requires some other therapies as well that we can provide for her. Red light therapy, particularly important for cellular repair, and that seems to be the thing at the moment. I'm sure your listeners would have heard of red light therapy, and it makes you feel good. It not only makes you feel good, it works. It increases the production of mitochondria. Mitochondria is every component in our body has cells. Those cells have a little energy source, and that energy source is the mitochondria. So speeds up the process of the production of mitochondria. It makes you feel good, helps cellular repair. So, those kind of things. That's another example of using technology. You can utilize these things. Not all therapy that we provide as a chiropractor is going to be a manipulation. It could be a number of things. But yeah, so she had tried the pain medication, wasn't really getting anywhere. So she sought care with myself. I mean, look at our reviews. If you read our reviews online, you'll see that we dominate this area in Mackay because of the results that we get, because, I've got a great team and we provide excellent care. But that's where you choose people. You find people on Google. You'll
Mm,
find people these days. You want to go to a restaurant, you're going to look at the restaurant and find out how good it is. And that's how we all find out about how the world works is, we rely on Dr. Google, or we rely on, finding how to park. We need that kind of instruction. But Yeah, I digress. Sorry.
No, that's all right. Now, if you look at this, I'm really fascinated about the way you speak and the way you're passionate about this practice. Now, if you would look back, is there something about your own personality as a person? Maybe it's a curiosity, the problem solving, the actual wanting to help people, because it's all coming through the language that you're using that actually shows up in the work that you do today.
Yeah. So that's a great statement. What's your question? Is
Absolutely.
there
Just say, is there something about just you, or is it any other chiropractor that could be like this?
I think all health practitioners, whether they be chiropractors or doctors, physiotherapists, if they're passionate about what they do, and you're seeing someone that's passionate about what they do, and they're knowledgeable and they're not afraid to not just do the same thing, just don't see the world from one lens. Be open to the possibilities that we have multiple sources of opportunity to go different ways in life. I think if a practitioner is open to understanding and not doing the same thing, using a toolkit that can be applied to a person. Person-centered care or patient-centered care is the model that we use as practitioners. We apply that idea that everyone's different and everyone might require something a little bit different in order to get the results they are after. It's all about our patients. That's what makes it really so inspiring for myself is that it is problem solving because all the care that we provide is tailored to the person's needs. They may not necessarily want it and they might necessarily need it. There's a difference between needs and wants. We'll definitely go and I want a car and I want a Trans Am, but I really need a station wagon because I've got a family. Am I going to buy the Trans Am or am I going to buy the station wagon? Whoever your partner is, they're going to be the one that tells you that the station wagon might be better if you haven't got a family. I don't know about you, but if you want the sports car, it's got to be fit for purpose. So I think if practitioner, whoever you see, and we're talking about chiropractic at the minute, I think they're knowledgeable people and they they need to or they often do they apply their knowledge to a situation in order to get the outcome for the best outcome for the patient. I think that's the really important thing.
Absolutely. Now, you did mention something of interest there. Some people really need certain things or want certain things, and they're not quite sure, how to get around to it. And some people want things faster than they are
Yeah.
possibly able to be delivered, and things of that nature. Now, when I came
Yep.
to Australia, I kept hearing this statement, Dr. Marty, which says, should be all right, mate. Like people would just say, nah, it'll be
Yeah.
fine. People will go out with that pain and it becomes a badge that, yeah, this is the kind of pain that
Mm.
sciatica
Mm.
or whatever it is. And many people delay getting help. Now, what's the
Yeah.
biggest mistake that you see people making when it actually comes to, pain and
Yeah.
injuries, and
Well,
what,
if you think about the idea that the first 50 years of life you can do whatever you want, it's the next 50 years that you're going to pay for it. So you can go and jump off a mountain and skydive and do all those kinds of things. If you want to do that, the effects of that will catch up with you. If you want to play football, there's going to be a time where your body is going to say enough's enough. It's time to hang up your boots and to move into something different. So I don't think, and it ultimately comes back to you should listen to your body. Your body is, your vehicle through life, and you want to look after it. You don't want to let it break down. And you don't want your car to break down. You want to service your car. So otherwise, you won't be able to get from point A to point B. But I think the thing is, if we're talking about men want to get things done. They're very process focused often. They're very results driven. And they want the results now. And they want to know how much it costs and so on. Women, however, they want to have the relationship. They want to understand how is that going to impact me? What's that going to affect me in doing? And often they put their needs behind the needs of the family. So predominantly we see more women than men as chiropractors because they're more thinking about how that provides their family. So we see a lot of families and a lot of women, and but men are, I've got pain and I'm going to get to the point where my leg's falling off before I do something, then they'll wait till their leg falls off. Now, I don't know if you know, but the listeners may know that Mackay has one or two mines around here, and they're coal mines. And just as an example, the main kind of area is about 2.5 hours drive from here. It's a place called M.E.D.I.A, and there's no beaches there, but there are, almost 20 mines that are around that region, and a lot of people work in those. Mackay is heavily based on mining and primary industry, and people work really hard. So they'll work hard during the week, come home, and then crash, get their life in order, suffer, deal with their pain or not, and then rest, and then go out and do it again. And so there's no chiropractors in town that are not busy because we help people feel better and enable them to get through the week in order to go out and do it again. But mining these days has changed a bit. There's a lot of sitting involved in that. And even when we're sitting, like, I don't know about you, but you might be starting to get a little bit uncomfortable moving in your seats. We really should move more regularly. And there's a saying that sitting is the new smoking. That's been around for a while now, just because of the detrimental effects of compression on your body. And this is leading me towards spinal decompression, which is one of the things that separates us from all the chiropractors in Mackay, and also in the Whitsundays. The Whitsundays is a beautiful place. I don't know if any of your listeners have been there, but I do
Okay.
know that you've passed through there.
Yeah.
What was the best part about the Whitsundays about when you came up here? What do you remember was good? Because you told me that you were looking at big things in Australia. You were
Big things
visiting
that, yeah, like doing in
you went
Mackay.
on
Yeah.
this trip with your family. Yeah. So what is it about the Whitsundays that you remember?
There was a lot of sitting down in that area.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
water is beautiful, turquoise. You could see some of the
Yep.
reef. Then just the water, the sea life is also just the aquatic life, so to speak. It's just amazing,
Stunning.
stunning.
Stunning. The
Yeah,
only thing is, it takes forever to get to these places. If you want to
yes,
go to the nearest town, it's 4 hours.
for
If you want
hours.
to
Yeah.
go to work, to go out to Moranbah, that's 2.5 hours. And it's a pretty shitty road. So, and there's lots of trucks, and it's a rough environment. So the people that work in mining out up here, they work damn hard. They deserve every piece of money that they get because no one would do the work unless someone does it. But there's a lot of sitting involved. They sit to get there, and then guess what? They're going to sit for the next week, operating machines or sitting in an office or whatever it may be. If you want to take your family for a trip, there's going to be a lot of sitting because you're going to get from one place to another, up to Townsville. That's 5 and a bit hours driving. I'm from Sydney. 5 and a bit hours, I could get down to the snowy mountains.
Mm.
So you can travel distances, but we all sit way too much. And you think that sitting is not that harmful for your body, but it is because it's pressure. And pressure produces diamonds, they say, but pressure produces pain. So
Mm.
that pressure stops blood flow. That pressure causes your legs to go to sleep. That pressure causes pain to travel down your leg, and we refer that as being sciatica. We had to come up with something that was able to deal with that. And that's where spinal decompression comes about. And that's one of the things that I specialize in the Mackay and Whitsunday area with
Mm.
a company that I came across a number of years ago. And we've just, gone leaps and bounds in that area.
Mm. So obviously you did mention things like sciatica and stuff, right? All of that
Yep,
is
yep.
symptoms of something, and you have been hinting on working on spinal decompression, and you also do dry needling, shockwave therapy, rehabilitation.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of practitioners will do these things. That's the way of applying what your skill sets are to fix the problem. So I moved to Mackay, go back just a little bit from Sydney. I don't know if you know, I had this amazing practice. Like I've had a few practices in my time. One was in the country down halfway towards the snowfields, just outside of Campbelltown. It's a place called M.E.D.I.A, and it's near right next to a town called Bowral. Beautiful place, rolling hills. It's called the Southern Highlands. And I had a practice there for 11 years. We loved it. That's where we brought our children up. And that was a very much a country practice, and we loved that area. But it was just a little bit too slow for me. I needed something exciting. So then I got involved with a practice in Sydney. It was right underneath the AMP building in Circular Quay. And it was fantastic. Great opportunity to be a business person now and wear a suit. Think that I'd made it. But you know what? I absolutely hated it because I just did not know how to get all this energy out. I was just lost in the numbers of Sydney. And that's where I first met people in the B&I group, and I got to meet business people and work with business people. They have the same problems as someone who works in a mine. They sit all day, they're in meetings all day. They would take the lift instead of take the stairs. They would, all of that. But when I was in Sydney, I had an opportunity to start teaching. And as you know, I mentioned earlier, I love teaching. So I started working for CQU, which stands for Central Queensland University. And they have campuses all over Australia. And I was working with the program there, and I was actually teaching chiropractors to be chiropractors. And so the students to be chiropractors. And as you know a little bit about me, I love education. I love chiropractic. So it's like a marriage made in heaven. I was teaching the students how to be chiropractors and be the health professionals of the world. And I loved it. And I was also practicing in Sydney at the time. But then I got an invitation to come to Mackay. We need someone to go to Mackay and teach chiropractic because we'd lost one of the people up there through ill health. And we're starting a new program and we need you to go up there. And I did. It was an opportunity, another kind of light bulb moment, and I relocated my family. We came to Mackay. Didn't even know what Mackay was. Just knew it was in the Whitsundays, like the turquoise water. I'd seen the pictures. I thought, that sounds unreal. I didn't know what it was like. So I dragged my family up here, and it's been the best decision to do that. And I ended up meeting up with a chiropractor that I went to university with, Rod Lacoste, at Macquarie University. And we started working together. And I've been in the same practice for the last 10 years. And I recently bought that practice because the university thing stopped. Universities start and stop courses. And after 10 years, no longer available in Mackay. So if you want to learn chiropractic, you can't learn it in Mackay. You've got to go to Brisbane now. So, but yeah, so I was thinking, what will I do? How can I get that passion out? And I've been able to go into this practice, and this practice has been a real focus on spinal decompression. So that maybe that's the next thing we talk about.
Absolutely. Yes. What is that and how does that help alleviate symptoms?
Okay, good question. So I've talked to you about compression and how you mentioned sciatica. A lot of people get sciatica and they think they can stretch it out. If it's coming from a nerve that's being pinched, it's a possibility that could be stretched out, but it will probably come back because we're going to sit again. So spinal decompression is about opening up the space in the spine for the discs to heal. And so through that movement, here's one we prepared earlier for you, right? Can you see that? Nope. There we go. It's phasing in and out. I don't know why that's happening.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we've got a pelvis here. There you are. There we go. All right. So we've got a spine here, and that spine has nerves, and these nerves travel from the spine, and they can travel down the leg and produce problems. The thing that the nerves don't like is pressure on them. And the discs, which act as shock absorbers, these things here, they fill up with fluid through the night. And then during the day, they get compressed and reduced. And as they become compressed and reduced, the nerves start to become irritated and pinched. And that's where the sciatic pain can irritate the muscles and pain can result from that. You got to think, well, I'll just stand up and it'll go away. It does for a short period of time, but then you've got to sit down again and the pain comes back on. Maybe you can't even stand for any period of time because the nerves produce the strength for us to stand and the movement for us to be able to touch our toes, be able to put our socks on. But if you have pressure on those nerves that's constantly irritating you, then your pain can get out of control. So spinal decompression helps create space in the spine so that the nerves can rest and the discs can start to move correctly and be full of fluid again and start to heal and start to repair. Because the discs have an inner substance, which is the nucleus, and they're surrounded by the outer area of it, which is the network that holds the disc together. And that cracks over time. So your question earlier about when do you do something, it's when you start that your body tells you that things are not working as you thought they were. So when you start to get that stiffness and soreness that just doesn't go away, or you're starting to think that you're not able to touch your toes, put your socks on, that's the time you start doing something about it because they're the signs that your body is starting to tell you that there's something not quite right. And then in comes to save the day, people's like chiropractors, doctors, surgeons. So chiropractic first, doctors second, surgery third. Never change that, okay? Because once you cut something open or once you operate on something or you start to give someone medication, you change that person forever. The body has the ability to heal itself when you give it the right information and the right environment. So spinal decompression provides the environment for your body to heal. It creates that space for the nerves to be able to operate without being pinched, without releasing chemicals into them and irritating them and causing that pain.
Now, is the decompression that which we see on TikTok where the doctor has a microphone on a neck and he's literally strangling
No,
someone?
no, 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 no. That's a cool adjustment. Yeah, yeah. That's actually, well, it's not harmful or dangerous unless it's performed by someone that doesn't know what they're doing. But that's really for clicks. I mean, and the microphone amplifies that effect. It's not very specific. The difference between spinal decompression is it's very specific. So a lot of the problems in a person's neck is going to come from C5, C6. That's the area of the neck that you can actually feel on the back of your neck. So if you put your fingers on the back of your neck, right down where your collar is, and nod your head further forward and backwards, that's where the curve of your neck starts to change and load when you spend all your time looking at screens or even on TikTok, because that's pretty addictive stuff. So head forward causes the neck to kind of tilt forward, and that loads the disc. And as you load forward, you can start to press more pressure comes through that region. And if you X-ray people, that's the area where you see a lot of deterioration because that's where the load is all coming from. It also coincides that that's the area that your fingers start to feel pins and needles and numbness and start to shake out your hands because you've probably been, if you're studying for an exam or something, you're trying to do the work and your hands get sore. It's because your shoulders are rolling forward and your posture's starting to not be as good as it could be. And you've spent too long sitting. We haven't got up and had a walk around or a stretch. Let's get up and have a walk and a stretch. So up we get. Hey, come back. Nice. So let me teach you some stretches. So we put our hand on our head. We're going to gently move our head off to the side. Or we're going to, yeah, that's it. Head over the side. Good. We're going to shrug our shoulders around in a circle like this. Nice. You're going to take a deep breath, grab some water, sit back down, and on we go.
All right. That is amazing. Well, I'm gonna have to chug my water.
Yeah, me too. Wherever it is.
So, I mean, obviously, you now do
Right.
okay. What we just did, somebody would think that's like exercises, that's like maybe yoga, and you also combine that with life saving. You practice yoga, you work in healthcare, and all this rehabilitation. Is there a common thread connecting all these parts of your life now? Because we just did something that somebody would think if they walked in here, they'll think I'm doing an exercise session.
Yeah. No, I think you do what you do. I mean, I used to take Wednesdays off and play golf. because I had the opportunity of doing that. That was just a good thing to be able to do. I'm too busy now to do that kind of stuff. But I do yoga very regularly, pretty much daily, because my body's starting to, show signs that it's not as healthy as it could be. And that's purely from just wear and tear. Wear and tear, you hear that often. People say, oh, it's just my body's just getting old. As you get older, Prosper, you've got to kind of put more into it. You've got to think about, maybe I'll have a glass of water instead of a beer at night. Or, you start to maybe go to bed earlier, an hour to bed earlier than you used to. It's going to be the best thing for you to do those little things, those 1% changes that you do over the course of a week really starts to stack up and make a huge difference. I think I'll take the stairs instead of taking the lifts, or I think I might ride my bike instead of jumping an Uber, or wherever you are. If your movement is key, you've got to have more movement in your body. More movement gives you more life. Movement drives your brain. For people that have strokes, it's important that their bodies move. For people who are stuck at their desk all day, they need to get up, they need to move around. They can get up and they can talk to someone, otherwise we just get locked in. We see everything and we do everything. We've got the world going by so quickly. I mean,
Dr.
that's
Marty,
that's quite important.
I don't know if we live in the same world. Have you seen how comfortable couches have become? Even pillows have memory foam. You put it's like your walking
Oh
shoes
yeah,
are now like a what do you call this? This
spongy.
squishy,
Yeah,
yeah, you know what I mean? The
yeah.
wall
But
becomes
that disconnects you from sensation. Your senses are there to put you in touch with of what's going on in your environment. But you're right, there's a movement in running shoes where they've become so cushioned now and so insulated that we get no feedback from our feet telling our brains what's happening. So we use these kinesiological, which it means movement-based and muscle-based orthotics that stimulate the feet and stimulate the muscles of the feet so that you get some input through your feet. So we don't use standard orthotics that are through a podiatrist. We use custom-made orthotics that are there to support the feet and stimulate the muscles under the feet in order to improve posture. And that's just a different way of looking at things. Works amazingly well for people who have poor posture and poor muscle tone, scoliosis, and so on. Remember, I've got that scoliotic curve. I probably a blessing. Thank God for being hit by a car when I was 13 years old. I mean, I thank him every day. Everything happens. And we should thank him for everything that happens in our life, good, bad, or not. It's for a reason.
absolutely. They say life doesn't happen to us, it happens for us.
For
And,
us.
and just listening to your story today, I don't think you're actually in the chiropractic business. I think you're in the business of giving people back to themselves. And
That's
because nobody just wakes up wanting to do spinal adjustment. Yours is stemming from a place of really wanting to help people be, do, and have a happier existence. They want to pick up their grandchild. They want to play golf again. They want to sleep through the night. They want to maybe step into the gym, lift heavy things, and lift a beer without having to then go and see a doctor. Walk on the beach, like you're talking about, just feel themselves again. And you just happen to use chiropractic as a vehicle.
It's a vehicle. You have been listening. You're a very, very good listener, and yeah, I really thank you for listening because you've really got me. That's so true. It's a vehicle, and my hands are guided by God, and I think it's a blessing to be able to create an opportunity for people to discover their own truth and their own power within them. To see the way this doctor this evening, who's on maternity leave, and she's suffering, she's doing it tough. First child. and in pain and wanting some solution to that. But to see her body, switched on, amazing, amazing. So,
Just
and that happens every day.
right. So just in case, I mean, obviously this channel might also be viewed by those in the 5 or sort of industry, and they might just so happen to be in and around Mackay, or just get to learn a little bit about, how you practice. Where can people go to on the internet, Dr. Marty, to learn a little bit more?
Sure. My chiropractor, Mackay City is the name of our business. This is the logo behind us. So we are in Victoria Street in Mackay. We're opposite a great cafe called Adora. We're next to a podiatrist called My Foot Doctor and a great hairdresser. It's a beautiful, beautiful town, and it's where we're at the minute. We may not be here forever. We have the opportunity to help lots of people, and we are very fortunate to be able to use the Spine MT Core, which is this state-of-the-art spinal decompression machine. So just wanted just a little bit more information about that for your listeners. So this is the only multi-directional decompression machine. So it not doesn't just kind of have a cable and pulls you apart. This thing moves in 3 dimensions. It puts your body in this space that can be open to the body to recover. Can I show you a picture? Can you bring it up for your listeners? So let's if you search something up and you can see. So maybe we can bring your the website up and people could find us on that. So we'll show them what we're about. So if you we'll do a share screen. How about that? If you give me
Yep,
the
share the
power
screen.
to share the screen. There we go. We'll go on a little tour. Tell me if you can see this. Can you see that?
Coming up. Yep, yep. Thank you.
Right. Okay. All right. Cool. So I'll give you that. There we go. That's the spinal decompression machine. That's my wife on the table. That's me making her feel amazing. So that's Dr. Rod, and we worked together for the last 10 years and continue to do so. There's some of my team. That's what our reception looks like. So that's pretty cool. So let me show you these fancy tables. And I think talking about them is good. If anyone contacts me, I can send them a free ebook, which will give them information about this technology. For example, it's got a Spine MT core, a little video there that you can find that can explain how this thing works. So, for example,
That guy really needs decompression because he's
yeah, don't know. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, but the catchy music and so on. But this is tailored to what a person needs. So it can address neck problems as well as low back problems. And that little video that's there is really helpful for people to understand. But by using this approach, what it does is it uses AI tech. And AI is, not just a catchy word these days. It's the way we do business because it's intuitive. And so there's the person's laying in this position. They're going to be feeling certain things, and the machine will be able to detect how much pressure to use to help the person with their problem, and provide safe, gentle, precise decompression for the patient. And that's all determined by the examination and process that we go through to help the person, and then they ultimately get better in regard to their care. But that's just one of the things we do. We're doing dry needling and shockwave therapy and some other really cool things, which are good. So if you're a practitioner, whether you choose to see a chiropractor or anybody, if they're using the latest evidence-based, scientifically proven care, then you're in good hands. But if you're in Mackay, certainly come and see me. Brisbane is an hour and so away on a flight. I have lots of people that live in Brisbane or work in Brisbane that see us, that come up from Brisbane and Townsville and so on. But people will drive great distances to come in and receive the care that we provide. So it's I'll stop sharing now if you like. It's not a mindless machine. It's using technology with what the patient is experiencing and helping to take away that pain in a way that gives people lasting results. And people cry with joy for the first time in their life. They've got no back pain, or that they can lift up they can go and watch the grandchildren play soccer on the weekend. They can stand for periods of time, or that's the kind of thing. And as you know, that's the kind of stuff that really makes me very happy and helps me want to do that for people. So there are 29 of these machines in Australia, and they were released last year. And but that's all over Australia. When I first started using this particular type of decompression table, there was only 12. So it's starting to get out there into New Zealand and the UK, and just been approved for Canada. So spinal decompression is something that you're going to see a lot more of. We are kind of blue ocean at the beginning of this revolution for people. It's an alternative to drugs and surgery. Evidence-based gives great results. Not for everybody, but your practitioner, like myself, would assess you and see if it is right for you. And that's the thing. It's not something, and not all treatment that people provide is the same. And I think that's really important when you see anybody, is that the care that you receive is appropriate for the problem. And if it's not, then you work with other health professionals and collaborate and provide um, multidisciplinary approach to your care. So
Absolutely. I'll make sure that those links are in the show notes so that people can actually go on, learn a little
yeah,
more about the machine, and
yeah.
also maybe get in touch with you so that they can,
Yeah, I'm
check it out.
happy to answer questions, and that ebook that I mentioned, I'm happy to share that with people. We use that as home advice, and gives them all the research that's available out there if research is your thing. And I researched this extensively before I got involved. But that's one of the things that's going to really change the way that spinal care is delivered. And yeah, we're loving it. And I don't know how what people measure success by, but the number of people you help is a measure of success, I believe. And I think we're on the path to being successful.
I can imagine because, like you mentioned, the first 50 years, we can do whatever we want, but for the next 50 years, we're paying for it. And
Yeah,
some of these people now have worked hard enough and they've got enough money, but they don't want to be paying for them to be feeling better. So it is a price that a lot of people would have to
yeah.
endure. Now, you've worked with thousands of people for over 25 years. What is it about pain that teaches people about themselves than what comfort never could? Because we seem to just gravitate towards comfort, but we don't seem to be learning the lessons that lead us to a lot of pain.
Well, yeah, pain is just a signal, and pain can be changed depending on the context of what that is associated. It's the meaning. So it's the meaning of why we get the pain. No one likes pain, but what does it mean? Does it mean we have to stretch more? Does it mean we have to, um, not carry so much weight? Does it mean we have to stop eating when our plate's half full? Does it mean we have to get off our fat asses and go and do some exercise? It's the meaning we attach to that. No one likes to have pain. And for those people that live in chronic pain, I feel for you, and I understand that that can be changed as well. Like the way that you regard the pain. What does it mean to you? So it stops you from, you mentioned, from doing certain things, but pain can be something that we can change. It's not something that we have to accept. It's not something that we have to take medication to try and dull the effects of it. It's something that we can alter. And there's some really cool digital health tools that are available out there. One of them is an app that's called, can I mention it? An app that I've come across. It's called More Good Days, and it's a fantastic digital platform for people that experience persistent pain. And I recommend that your listeners check it out because it changes the way we regard pain, and it's just the input into our brain and what we associate that input to be. So, and that can be various types of pain. There's different types of pain. There's neuralgic pain, which is nerve-based pain. There's muscular pain, which is a deep, dull, aching pain. There's emotional pain, the fear that we have of not wanting to have pain or related to when we had that experience of pain. And that's a big motivator, particularly for men. If they've had back pain and it comes back again and again and again, then if they're off work and they're not able to produce, they're not able to make the family able to meet basic needs, that's a real fear. And that fear produces the pain, and the fear increases the level of pain that we understand. That's a big motivator for men because they want to produce, they want to protect, we want to provide. And if they can't do that, then that's a motivation for them to do something about it. Women, as I said, think about things differently. They think about the bigger picture. But men, if it stops them from being able to earn a crust and be able to put food on the table, then that's when they do something about it. Or if their leg falls off.
Now, Dr. Marty, I know we could go on and on, but I think, with what we've covered so far, whoever's watching right now can go onto your website, look up that machine, get that ebook, and actually connect with you
Yeah,
and
yeah.
learn a little bit more about this pain. I can't thank you enough for the time that we spent on the call today.
Yeah, my pleasure, Prosper. No problem at all. And thank you for having me as your guest on your podcast. That was a lot of fun. I hope I was able to help enlighten and inspire people to check out their chiropractors in their area or to get on a plane and come and see me. Or, just to listen to what their bodies are telling them and do something about it, or look out for some spinal decompression and go and check that out. Yeah, in the links you'll see that there'll be areas around Australia and overseas that where they can find people that are providing that, and that's growing all the time. So, and I can put you in touch if you're a practitioner or someone that wants to get that involved in their town or in their area, then I can help you with that as well. So yeah, no, I could talk to you for hours too, Prosper. So, but I think we've probably got to get home to our families. You're at home though.
I'm already at home, so I'll
Mm,
be I'll be
yeah.
I'll be doing what you mentioned, Dr. Marty. I will get off from this seat and go sit somewhere else where people think
Yeah, 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 I know. We have a massage chair in our reception area just so people can kind of take the load off when they come in and see
yeah.
us. So thank you for your time. I hope you've enjoyed finding out a little bit about us. And
Oh,
yeah,
I
my,
think, I
my
think
chiropractor,
yeah,
Mackay City.
I definitely will be putting all those links in the show notes below. I will actually be looking at this growth in these decompression machines because you said there's 29 of them, and Australian
Yeah,
population is slowly creeping up to 29 million people. So
yeah.
that means there's one per million, and I want to see that number decreasing as
Yeah,
we.
I know. Let me show you the site.
Yeah,
Just as we finish, if you I'll
absolutely.
just
Thank
look
you.
up that. Hold on just a tick. So it's pretty crazy because these guys, the Vert Biotech is the name of the company, are about to explode overseas. So let's bring that up and I'll show you.
I will be putting all those
Yeah.
links in the show notes below as well
Yeah.
as
Yep.
we,
Okay.
yeah.
So let me share this with you just briefly. So that's what this thing looks like.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So that's
Are you
the
sure, Dr. Marty, are you sure AI is not going to take your job there?
no, no, I don't think so. So the one that we use is this guy here. It's called the MT Core. And here's all the features that it does and all the things that it does and all the specifications and so on. But up here, you'll say find a clinic over here. And also over here is the research. Find a clinic. We go there and it'll come up with a map. And these are all the places in Australia that they have it, and all the places in New Zealand and over in Europe. And they're just about to go to Canada. Where's Canada? Over here, Canada, and then the States. And then it'll be like world domination. Yeah, it's growing. And these machines come out of Korea. So incredibly high tech, and the research is second to none. Current research and you can check that out as well. And the gentleman that switched me onto that is this man here called Jake. So yeah, these things really do work, and they feel amazing. So that's probably a good place to finish, I suppose.
We'll put absolutely, and I really appreciate that. So people can actually go onto
Mm.
verbbiotech.com. I will put those links in the show notes so that people can actually look at that. Now, Muddy, what an incredible conversation. I think today we just learned that pain isn't always just something you have to live with. You know how many people, Muddy, actually let the, actually let their pain detect their calendar because they are invited to go places or do things with their loved ones. They actually got to check how they feel
Mm.
that particular day in order for them to participate. And can you imagine if you are living pain free and you're actually able to improve the quality of your life, and that recovery is possible, as what Dr. Marti has shown us. And sometimes the big thing that's actually holding us back isn't whatever injury that you might have. It's actually the belief that nothing can change. Dr. Marti told us of his accident as a kid, and also the one that involved the seesaw, which could have actually put him out of commission. But the belief that he had about how the body works actually got him out of that. So if you know somebody or you have been feeling a bit of pain, but somebody came to mind while you were watching this episode, maybe it's a friend, it's a parent, a partner, or a colleague who is constantly living with pain, please share this episode with them. You might not be able to help them like what Dr. Marty can, but them hearing that it is possible might be the starting point to their healing journey. It might be exactly the journey that they need right now. And remember, health isn't just about surviving. It's about having the freedom to enjoy your life, your family, your work, and the moments that matter the most. Can you imagine if you're the one that has given that to them? So I can't wait to see what it is that you do with this information. All the links are going to be in the show notes below. Thank you once again, Dr. Marty. This has been amazing. I think pretty much after this, I'll be checking out those links and seeing who's near me that I can actually
You're in Melbourne,
in
correct?
Melbourne.
So
Yeah,
you've got some people there that can look after
I
you.
will seek
And
them.
yeah,
I will seek them.
yeah.
Thank you so much.
Most people go to sleep when they lie on those machines. So, each session's 20 minutes. It's 20 minutes out of their day. It's the best 20 minutes of their day, if not their week. People, yeah, amazing, amazing. And yeah, there's no manipulation involved in that. So if you're afraid of chiropractors, and some people are, don't be afraid. If you want to get rid of pain, check it out.
Absolutely. And if you've been putting up with pain, discomfort, or maybe just any restricted movement, I've seen some
Mm.
parents that can't even turn their head like this, but not if you've got the kids like I have. You have to constantly be checking behind in the car when you're driving. But yeah, some people always think it will get better on its own. Maybe today is the day you stop guessing and actually go and find the answers that you need, because I think the sooner you understand what's really going on, the sooner you get back to the life that you want to live, and it's worth taking action for. I don't know what you're going to do with this information. But I hope you
Hmm.
stay well and yeah, seek the help that you deserve. Until next time, bye for now.